Welcome in. What's Right? We Think Right, episode 326. After another thrilling NBA playoff game, Golden State Warriors escape and take firm and full control of the series. If at some point Jalen Green shows up to the series other than game 2, maybe we'd have one, but we don't. That, however, is not the story of the game. The story of the game is Draymond Green. We will get to him momentarily. There is a lot to do on today's show. I want to address Saquon's tweet because I just want to address it. And it's probably not what you think I'm going to say, but I want to discuss that. Also, we did an emergency pod yesterday. We have done, on the pod, we haven't done anything related to Shedor's slide in the draft, which is that really a commentary about Shedor, or is that a commentary about the media? Is it a meta commentary on commentary? All of that. Damonza, though, fresh from his brand new studio with his Wright 11 Celtics jersey, our YouTube plaque, looking great. I don't know if you're sounding great or not. Let me hear you.
Good to see you, Pops. But
wow.
Yeah, no, we're in a new location. It took me a little bit less time to get here today. But yeah, excited to do it from the old apartment.
Oh, well, I wasn't going to dox you. Now everyone knows where you're at. Now the
oh, yeah, true.
But no, that works. So Damonza's got the home setup. I've got the home setup. It's great. We are bi-coastal on this show. Before, though, we get to Rockets Warriors, let's get to what missed the cut. What missed the cut in today's show? The Commanders returning to D.C. I haven't followed that story. Listen, the Thunder sweep the Grizzlies and the Cavs sweep the Heat, and both those series involved 50-plus point wins. Ja, though, says he had the Thunder figured out. By the way, for those keeping track at home, the Thunder were 8-0 against the Grizzlies this year. However, I guess Ja's point is it went from 50 to 17 to up 27. Had I stayed healthy, we'd have won Game 6 of that series by 90 points, the trajectory we were on. For Oklahoma City and for Cleveland, their rewards as being the 1 seed, the NBA's never done this before. They did it this year, though. The rewards for the 1 seed was a bye. A true first-round bye, and so their playoffs will start next week. Also, we typically stay out of the silly internet memery, but this 100 men versus 1 gorilla topic is simply too delectable to ignore, so we will get to that later in the show. A reminder, if you're watching live on the chat, like, rate, subscribe, review, and you can ask your questions. The subscriptions, ratings, reviews, all of that really does help. All right, Damonza, let's get to Rockets Warriors.
Golden State went up 3-1 against the Rockets. Despite Steph's somewhat mediocre game, this series has been super chippy. And Houston actually had a chance there at the end. Şengün had a go-ahead bucket. He missed. Van Vliet had a 3 in transition, missed that as well. You picked the Rockets in this series. Do you think they've officially blown it?
I think they have probably blown it. Real quick, did you think Van Vliet's shot was going in? I thought it was going in.
No, he had it exactly in line. It was just off by like a foot.
It was just
maybe.
Short.
100%.
Like usually when you take those kind of running almost sideways threes, if you miss it, you're going to miss it to the right. When 100%. I saw the line it was on, I was like, holy shit, he made it.
The trajectory
and then
was
I think
good
he
and
airballed it.
It looks great. He airballed it. He whiffed it.
Yeah, I mean, there were a bunch of airballs yesterday.
Yeah.
Steph had 2, Draymond had a couple, Van Vliet had 1. But the story of the game is Draymond Green. Because put this game on Draymond's basketball tombstone. Just the perfect vintage Draymond Green. Every single reason you love him or every single reason you can't stand him. A true Draymond Green playoff masterclass. And listen, Draymond has consumed a fair amount of my Draymond Green related media. I hope he sees this or I hope someone sends it to him, because listen, I don't think Draymond Green and I have a lot of mutual, not just acquaintances, but close friends. That has once put us in the same room in a social setting. It was nothing bad at all. We were both cordial, but it wasn't, warm, and understandable. And, probably 60-40 my fault in that regard. And I am someone who has been highly critical, I think fairly, of a lot of the Draymond Green nonsense. And at times, I poke a little fun at the backpack shots and the triple singles. However, yesterday was the perfect encapsulation for why this era of Warriors basketball, if you remove the supercharged 3 years with Durant that were its own thing, the pre-Durant and post-Durant era, even when you had prime Klay Thompson and now you have playoff Jimmy Butler, each and every year, for good or for bad, the second most important player on that team is Draymond Green. And as much as Steph unlocks everyone on their offense, Draymond unlocks everyone on their defense. And last night was just perfect. Because Draymond hits his first 2 shots, then can't hit the broadside of a barn the rest of the night. Draymond is flailing and flopping and grabbing kicking and doing every single thing he can do up to the line to where he gets ejected without being ejected. And he is snarling and spittling and intimidating the Rockets. And then playing an extra level mind game when he tries to, at the free throw line, on the box out line, apologize or make amends with Tari Eason. And then Amen Thompson comes over and is like, hey, don't be friendly with Draymond. Then Draymond gets into it with Amen. And it's just the full Draymond experience. And it's all wrapped around absolute lockdown, shutdown defense on Alperen Şengün, who, in the minutes that Şengün got with Draymond off the court, he scored any time he wanted. I thought Udoka made a significant error in the moment Draymond picked up his 5th foul and went to the bench. He didn't put Şengün right back in the game. He put him in shortly thereafter, but that needed to be instantaneous. Every single minute Draymond was not on the court, Şengün should have been on the court, absolutely cooking. And that's ultimately what he did. Ultimately, he went back in the game, lit him up, and then Draymond came back in, and Şengün was shook. And Draymond asked for one-on-one defensive assignment, game on the line. Şengün makes the shot. You're going back to going back to Houston. That's very important. 2 games apiece. Şengün misses the shot, and you have a commanding lead on the series, and Draymond got him. And so, years ago, when the Warriors were at their apex, and people thought this was anti-Kawhi rather than being pro-Draymond, but I was on the record that I thought Draymond should have won 3 consecutive Defensive Player of the Year awards. I thought Draymond's ability to let them play small and to still have a dominant defense was such an underrated element of the 15 and 16 Warriors. What people forget about those 2 Warriors years pre-Durant was, yes, Steph was unbelievable, and nobody forgets the threes and the 73 wins and Klay's 37 point quarter and all of that. What people do forget is they had the number one defense in basketball those 2 years. And that was Draymond Green. It wasn't just Draymond. Iggy was a great defender. Clay was a great defender. But Draymond Green was the tip of the spear. And for Draymond at this age, at this point of his career, when a legitimate concern for Draymond was he is already at a deficit athletically, what is it going to look like when he just loses 5%, 10% of his athleticism, when he's already not the quickest, can't obviously jump the highest, any of that? And the answer is his toughness, his tenacity, his basketball brilliance will overcome all of it. And it is really a remarkable feat what he has been able to accomplish in this series without ever scoring in double digits. It is absolutely spectacular, and it shows that one of the smartest quotes he's ever given is there's 82 game guys and there's 16 game guys. And he is the definition of a 16 game guy. And to be clear, it doesn't absolve him of all the nonsense, and it doesn't make him, in my opinion, particularly enjoyable to watch. But it is the definition of a player who understood, I have one path to being a great player, and that is the path I am going to walk. And I have respect for that. And it is such a luxury for Steph Curry that Steph can have an off night, 17, 3-3, 4 turnovers, hit the one huge shot, just a shot the Warriors have been hitting for 10 years. You get a defensive stop, knock the ball out of bounds. They got 2 on the shot clock. You know they're going to Steph for a 3. You know he's pump faking. You're going to bite on the pump fake anyway and give up the 3 late in the fourth. That was really his only noteworthy moment of the second half. And they can win anyway. Now, speaking of Steph, people got very mad. Damonza, you saw it coming. When we were doing the show on Thursday, and I kind of did the impromptu Steph Curry rules mini rant.
Yeah.
You could tell that was going to be an unpopular take. You might have even thought it was a slightly unfair take from the look of...
I thought you were being snarly towards the Curry fans, and not necessarily Curry, but yeah, I mean, definitely knew that was going to get some engagements.
Yeah. So a few things on that. One is people then tried to take my Steph take and remove Steph and put in LeBron's name because now it looks like they're going to lose in round 1, which is a unique and interesting turn of phrase and a smart thing to do if you can say with a straight face that there has ever been a single moment of LeBron James's career where he has skirted criticism. Where it's been like, oh, the media didn't jump on LeBron there. Wow, people are just missing the boat on this one. People are, wow, they're sure letting LeBron for that early playoff exit slide like that's never happened. So it wasn't to say he's never come up short. It was to say, or it wasn't even to say that Steph regularly does. It was to say that in regards to Steph, the commentary somewhat vacillates between he's underappreciated GOAT point guard in the GOAT conversation. That's the upper end. And then the bad game or disappointing game or disappointing playoff performance end is nothing. And I would argue, if folks want to do the LeBron comparison there, that the LeBron comp would be the upper end is, that was amazing, but here's why Jordan would have done it better. And the lower end is LaFraud, LaMickey, and here's why, you know what I mean? This is Steph's era or Kobe would have this. So it's just the way it's phrased a little differently, which is why, even though I have great respect and truly a level of awe watching Steph Curry at age 37 do what he's doing, I don't mind. You know let me interrupt myself here. You guys remember Batman Begins? And
a little bit, maybe.
Okay, so the producers, they're nerds. They'll remember what it was called. Something of Shadows. Was it the League of Shadows? I feel like this is Daniel right in my ear. He's got it. I knew it. Daniel was on it. So who was that? Who was the actor, the main guy for the League of Shadows? It was Liam Neeson. That's right. So Liam Neeson in the League of Shadows basically says, I'm not a bad guy. I'm just here to provide balance. When things get out of whack, we come in and even things out. Okay? I sadly would appear... Ra's al Ghul. Thank you. Sadly, it would appear that I have to be that character for some of the Steph Curry stuff. It's not that he's not one of the 12 greatest players ever, the greatest shooter ever, the greatest small player ever, an all-time champion, teammate, all of it. It's that because he is so universally beloved that there is no balance.
Yes.
And so my version of bringing balance, Damonza, is sending a, somewhat anodyne tweet with a minute left in the basketball game last night that says, really interested in who is and who isn't on the court this possession. Because you then saw the Golden State Warriors in the biggest possession defensively of their season tell Steph Curry, sit over here, just give us a minute. And then they called timeout, got him back on the court. And then the next possession, the Şengün possession, we come out of commercial, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if a guy who I am a hater because I won't include in the GOAT conversation, I wonder if his head coach thinks what gives us the best chance to win right now is either having Steph Curry or Brandon Podziemski on the court. And Steve Kerr was like, let's press the Brandon Podziemski button. And again, I know that makes me a bad guy. I get it. I can wear the black hat for this. But as I mentioned,
think it's fair that Curry doesn't receive the same amount of criticism that LeBron does. You need to bring him back down to earth.
It's not even that. I would just like an acknowledgement that it happens. That's all. So I did that top 12 thing, and I put Steph and Shaq in the same, right outside the top 10 bucket. And the reason I thought it was interesting, they were 11-12. Again, it was LeBron, Kareem, Michael, Magic, Russell, Wilt, Duncan, Kobe, Bird, Akeem, Shaq, Steph. that Shaq had a similar thing where late in games, when they had a lead and they were on offense, they'd take him out for free throws. By the way, and I don't really go on Instagram, so I always have DMs that I missed. But how about this DM that I didn't know how to respond to because I couldn't tell if he was actually happy with it or not. From Dr. Shaquille O'Neal on IG. Thanks. Top 12 is nice. Thanks. Do we think that was sincere or he's mad at me? Because Shaq does his pod with one of my dear friends, Adam Lefko. I really like Shaq. He came on First Things First 7 years ago, picked Deanna up. We have a great picture. I don't want Shaq
that was
to be
when
mad
you
at
first
me.
came out with that was like back a couple years ago?
No, he sent it 3 days ago. No, it was because of the Steph clip. So that's why I'm worried. Because the context of that clip is, I'm like, here are the greatest players. 2 of them had a flaw that opponents tried to exploit. One of them was Shaq. And then he's saying, thanks, top 12. But
he didn't mention any of that.
Yeah, so maybe we're good.
Cool.
But to get back on track, I watched those games. And during the games, when they took Shaq off the court, the commentators didn't pretend it wasn't happening, or they didn't act confused as to why it was happening. When the Lakers had a 4-point lead with 40 seconds left and all of a sudden Shaq's coming out of the game, no one was like, oh, interesting call by Phil Jackson. We're going to get some Sasha Vujacic minutes here. No, hey, Sasha wasn't on those teams. My apologies. Or maybe he was on the end, but regardless. Nobody was making saying those things. Be like, oh, don't want it, Shaq's liability of the line, they want to get him out of the game. And so again, I think that Steph's game 3, which we talked about yesterday, was an all-time performance. And you saw that in the game, and then you saw it in the talk shows and TV shows yesterday that were paying homage to it. Steph's game 4 performance, what you're not going to see, and I'm fine, and you shouldn't, because it's toxic commentary. Is Steph carried by Jimmy. You're not going to get that. And I just thought, and it's just a nice Goldilocks zone in the public consciousness to live. And I think that right now, the Steph, where I will, in all seriousness, and yesterday wasn't a good example of it, but this whole series has been. It has been really remarkable to watch the Rockets, who are a decade younger than the Warriors, with nothing but long, strong defenders to throw at him. Their entire game plan B, just please don't let Steph Curry kill us. And they've really only been able to execute it successfully in one game. They lost it. But I guess you could say they executed it in game 2 as well. Steph has had 2 brilliant games. Game 1 was the best game anyone had played up to that point in the postseason. I understand it was the first weekend. And game 3 might be the best game anyone's played in the postseason other than the Ants game.
What does that mean for other teams in the West, too? If this young and spry Rockets team can't stop Curry, Denver's got some defensive problems. I don't know if they're going to end up seeing them. And
well, listen, what every other team has is someone who can score the basketball.
Yeah, that's the other. Yeah,
you're right that this will be Steph's heart. Now, if they get Minnesota's going to be a son of a bitch defensively.
Yeah,
we're seeing that right now. But what the other teams have is the ability to score, and
that brings us to Jalen Green.
I could not be further out on Jalen Green. I was never really in on Jalen Green. Is Jalen, that is not the style of player I tend to love, but also being in single digits 7 of your last 8 games is wild. It's really wild. All right, let's get to the Lakers Timberwolves.
Yeah, so you said on your show that their season, the Lakers, ended last weekend, but the series isn't over. How would you explain that? How would they still be alive?
So listen, I actually think they can win the series. They obviously need a lot of things to break their way. The reason I said the season's over, and I mean it, is because the goal of the season was to make the finals and win the championship. And they had a very narrow path to doing that. And one of the parts of that path was winning in round 1 in short order and definitively not letting round 1 go 7. Now it's going to take a heroic effort just to get out of round 1 in 7. But here's the problem, Damonza. Starting tomorrow, best case scenario for the Lakers, they play on the following dates: April 30th, May 2nd, May 4th, May 6th, May 8th, May 10th, May 12th, May 14th, May 16th, May 18th, May 20th, May 22nd, May 24th, May 26th, May 28th, May 30th. Their best case scenario, and I guess really technically the best case scenario is some of those games are clipped out because they get out of this round and then win in round 2 quickly. But that's, now we're not really talking realistic scenarios. The point is, round 1 was the only round with extra time between games, and you could get that in round 2 if you win your round 1 series early. But none of that is happening, and now they are on starting tomorrow and every other day until the season ends trajectory, and that's hard enough to win when the guy who's playing the best for you on your team is 40 years old and at 70,000 minutes. It is impossible to win when the guy who's playing the best of anyone on your team is 40 years old at 70,000 minutes, and the coach has made it very clear to the team and the entire world, there's 5 guys on this team I even want to look me in the eye. I mean, that was the other piece of it. Like, to show that little faith in the rest of your squad that early in the playoffs is, I just don't know that you can come back from it. And so that's why I said the season's over. Now, I think they'll win tomorrow. I think you and I will be on here Thursday coming off a Lakers win and discussing, well, if they can just win Friday in Minnesota, where they had opportunities to win both of the previous 2, then you have a Game 7 in Los Angeles, and I'll talk myself into it. There's no question about it.
Yeah, of course.
Especially given the level LeBron is playing, because what was supposed to be the question going into these playoffs was more about what level would LeBron be at. Instead, he's 26, 10, and 8 with the best defense on the team. He's been, by the advanced numbers, the best rim protector in the NBA these playoffs. He's just played 46 minutes and had the energy on defense, didn't have it on offense at the end. So he's been, and now he's going to have 2 days. So he's been excellent, and I'll talk myself into that Luka's going to get, back to true Luka form, but I just don't think they have enough bodies. And it is true that from a narrative and infuriating media cycle perspective, and folks that, take pleasure in my pain, we are potentially staring down the barrel at, from annoying and infuriating narrative perspective, of a worst case scenario, which is somehow a LeBron/Luka masterpiece over these next 3 games serves them up dead, tired, and exhausted to a fresh, rested Warriors team coming off a 5-game beating of Houston. And then we get Steph, LeBron in round 2. And folks in that series will, of course, pretend that we didn't get Steph, LeBron in round 2 2 years ago when folks acted like big stakes on this series. Oh, it's finally a fair fight. And then if you remember, that series culminated in Steph falling down at midcourt, then throwing the ball backwards over his head out of bounds in the deciding game, and the Lakers cruising. Everyone will pretend as if that didn't happen, and this is the newest referendum. I would not enjoy those basketball games. I'll tell you that much right now. And the Lakers have put themselves in a position now with the assistance of Jalen Green and some great Warriors play that we talked earlier, of that being the scenario we're looking at. The best case scenario coming in was the opposite, of course. The Lakers handle business, beat Minnesota in 5 or 6. The Warriors have a 7-game war with Houston, and this is why playoff basketball is so great. We're like 3 possessions away from that being the case. LeBron's masterpiece, 38 points in game 3. If Luka just has anything in the tank, they have that. They have a double-digit lead in game 4. And they have the ball up 2 with a minute left. Everything goes wrong from there, that point forward. That's between Lakers being down 3-1 and up 3-1. And last night, how many opportunities did Houston have? Most notably, just Şengün's shot at the end for that series to be 2-2. But that's the playoffs, man. The Clippers were 100th of a second away from planning for Oklahoma City, and now they kind of know deep down we're going to be playing a Game 7 at altitude in Denver where the best player in the world's on the other team. It's just unbelievable. All right, go ahead.
It's Şengün.
Yeah. So
Chris is saying,
I can't believe that no one has gotten to Reggie about this. You are sitting next to Kevin Harlan. He is calling him Şengün. He's the best player on the Rockets. He's their only all-star. His name is Şengün. If you were going to mispronounce it because it's an international name, and you were just going to do it the way it's spelled, that would be Şengün. There is no A in the name. You are calling the NBA playoffs. You are saying his name 50 times, and you won't stop calling him Şengün.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. It is beyond baffling. Beyond baffling.
I've gotten hip to your Reggie Miller take. I was telling Daniel earlier. I've been listening to him. He can be a little
He's
annoying.
unbearable.
He can be a little annoying. 100%.
I mean, I can't.
I don't know if you noticed yesterday, but Draymond was like, he was doing his antics the entire game, and then he goes over to apologize, and Reggie Miller was like, yeah, real vet move by him, and it's like, he's been acting like a jackass the entire time.
I can't. It is the combination of People tweet to me. They're like, "Why do you dislike Reggie Miller?" It's nothing personal. It's just I love NBA basketball. He is the number one color commentator on one of the top broadcasts. He has been involved in a disproportionate amount of my favorite sports moments. And I'm sorry to be a jerk. I don't mean to. He's never made a single one of them better. And it's like you can be like, okay, it's just different styles, so be it. No problem. You got to pronounce the players' names right. Like, it's just a level. It's whatever. All right, let's keep moving. We can do some follow-ups here.
Yeah, so the last 2-minute report came out, and it said that Luka should have gotten a foul called on him, or not on him. McDaniels should have gotten a foul called on him because he tripped Luka. Do you think that this swung the game more than JJ deciding to play the starting five?
Well, listen, if they get that foul call, assuming Luka makes both, which you don't know for sure, the Lakers are up 1 with 35 seconds left. I am pretty consistent on this. Complaining about officiating's for losers. And be better. You like to think eventually it'll even out. I'll be honest, I was more annoyed by the NBA breaking out the 5,000 millimeters Zapruder camera to find the foul on LeBron than I was them not calling the trip. Like that was frustrating. But where I'm consistent on that is I just don't like replay in sports in general. I think it has made sports worse. But that's another argument for another day. The worst missed call the refs had in that game was the kick ball out of bounds on the sideline that would have been Lakers ball with 14 on the clock. Instead, they called a shot clock violation, but whatever. Like, be better. So I'm not going to, and I did not, I understand the last 2-minute report said what it said. I didn't think that was an egregious missed call. That was borderline. Lucas stepped on his foot. He did stick his foot out. That was whatever. Be better. And LeBron's got to inbound that ball better. So I'm not going to blame refs. I don't. It's not my thing.
In the reviewing situation, I think the time has to be cut down. That's one thing Reggie Miller's 100% correct on. That game yesterday, I mean, I think there was 10 minutes of them reviewing a play in Golden State versus Rockets.
This is a rant for the offseason, but if you can't figure it out within 30 seconds, the call on the floor stands.
Stands, right? Yeah.
And the only scenario where I am okay with them taking all the time they need is the Clippers-Nuggets scenario, where it's game over or not game over.
Right.
Because that is what nobody ever talks about when it comes to these replays and reviews is fatigue and conditioning being a part of sports and that it should benefit the better conditioned team. And so the long replays and reviews skews the fair outcome, with the one exception of something like Clippers-Nuggets, where it's literally the last play of the game. Like that to me is a different situation. Everything else, it was put in place so you could get obvious mistakes right. Not so, we called this an out of bounds, but it turns out when we take the camera from the drone at the ceiling and zoom in black and white, we see, give me a break. Okay, let's do the last follow-up here about Ant.
So last year, everybody thought Ant was taking the big leap. He had a lot of traction saying he was going to be the face of the league, but that kind of died off after the Western Conference Finals. So we think that this is a real deal. He's walking down some boats
listen,
right now.
What's definitely a real deal is he's been the best player in this series. And that's a series with peak Luka, it's supposed to be, and LeBron in the playoffs, who will always just be great. And that's remarkable. It's also real that he's 23 years old. He's knocked Kevin Durant and Devin Booker out of the playoffs. He's knocked Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray out of the playoffs. He is a game away from knocking Luka and LeBron out of the playoffs. And then he's going to have a chance to knock Steph out of the playoffs. That's the path. And now our resident Nuggets fan, Daniel, who is a really, really sharp guy and a great producer, but has a blind spot for his team, writes in, didn't Jokic knock Ant, Durant, and LeBron out? Yes, Daniel. And that's how he became known as the best player in the league. Yes. Yes, he did. And that's why we are now talking about if Ant were to do something similar, what it would mean for him. I get it. You are correct, sir. And so
it's like, my bad.
And Ant, listen, the conversation that is starting with Ant, and fair is fair.
Oh.
Is he, the conversation that's starting is he better than Luka? And Perk flat out said he is. Listen, I would still rather have Luka. However, and I don't think we can be so prisoner of the moment-y where Luka drastically outplays him and beats him in the conference finals a year ago. And that means nothing if the opposite then happens in the playoffs this year. That just means they're 1-1. However, this year, Ant's game has jumped and Luka's didn't. And, Ant is a dominant two-way player. Like, he is, I don't know if it's Luka dropping a tier for the time being or Ant rising a tier, or it's a little bit of both, but that is a fair discussion.
I mean, when you bake in the defense with Anthony Edwards, I think is probably, I don't know what Kendrick Perkins was talking about or what his points were, but
yeah.
I think when you factor in the fact that Ant plays actual defense and he can probably average the same amount of points that Luka can.
That's the thing is he hasn't shown he can average the same amount of points as Luka can. And he's never been close to the passer Luka's been. So Luka is, he hasn't been in this series, but Luka is the more well-rounded, better offensive
right, this isn't Luka's
player.
best series as well. Right.
And so there's just, but it is, listen, the playoffs and the games and the results have to matter. And so, he is making a claim, and we'll see how far he can push this thing. All right, let's move on to Dame.
So Dame unfortunately went down with a non-contact injury a few days ago. He tore his Achilles in Game 4. You said that it was likely the last time we see Dame play like Dame, and you also said this is probably the last time we see Giannis as a Buck. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I hate this so much for Damian Lillard. And, he came back faster from from blood clots than anyone ever. And that, I don't really understand how he did it. And obviously blood clots are not related to a torn Achilles. However, him being out and not being able to train and do the play for a month and then jumping into playoff basketball, did that contribute? I would have to imagine it at least could have. And so you just feel truly sick to your stomach that this guy did everything he could to come back as early as possible. And it was to get this playoff run, and now he didn't get this playoff run, and he's not going to have next year's playoff run, and he might not have any more playoff runs. So, I mean, that is a true cruel turn of events for a great dude and a great player.
Yeah.
You just hate it. You hate every piece of it, and, he has, I'm sure, so many what ifs in his head. What if he had just stayed in Portland and just been the legend there forever? It's not like, if I had done that, I wouldn't have gotten these great playoff runs. Those never happened.
So Oh, you said that Dame said, like, what if I never left Portland, and you're saying
Yeah.
Giannis might
No, no,
stop?
no. No,
No,
what I'm
go
saying, I'm
ahead.
just talking about from Dame. I'll get to Giannis in a minute. What I'm saying for Dame is he's just I'm sure he has a lot of man, what if I never left? I left Portland, which I didn't really want to do because I wanted to compete for a championship. I won 0 playoff series in Milwaukee. You know what I mean? That
Right.
didn't happen. I'm sure he's also thinking, what if they had just traded me where I wanted to be traded, to Miami? And it was me and Jimmy Butler and Bam. What would that have looked like? And so it's a cruel, not final chapter, but close to a final chapter for Dame. And then for Giannis, I don't see how Giannis can stay. And the Bucks are in such a weird spot because they don't control any of their own picks the next 6 years, so they can't tank. They have no cap space to improve the team. They don't have any young players that you're just super excited about. And so it's going to be fake trade season with Giannis. And there's 2 Damonza that I made that are really interesting. One is to the Rockets, where you get Şengün, Reed Shepherd, who was a top 5 pick who doesn't play, Jock Landale, and he doesn't play because he doesn't defend, but he was top 5 pick in this year's draft, so he's valuable. Jock Landale for salary filler, and then 4 draft picks, 2 of which are super valuable. The Phoenix 27 and 29 first, and the Houston 28 and 31st. That, if you're Milwaukee, because keep in mind, you can't tank. So Şengün makes it so you don't tank. You have those picks to start getting the young players. That, to me, is an interesting one. And then the other one, if you just want to go pure young, there is a trade with the Spurs where you offer them Giannis. So Giannis and Wemby are together, which is terrifying for the league. And they give up Barnes for the salary, Keldon Johnson, Rookie of the Year Stephon Castle, and then a litany of picks. The Atlanta and first-round pick in 2027, the Chicago first-round pick in 2027, the Boston first-round pick in 2028, the Dallas first-round pick in 2030, which could be super valuable, and the Minnesota first-round pick in 2030, which is okay. And those are real trades. And I'm interested if they would be interested in any of those. Are there any other fake trades you want to ask me about?
Yeah, there's. What about OKC? I mean, they have picks, and they can obviously trade good players. Do you see that working out?
Here's the thing for OKC. First of all, they might win the title this year. Right. If they do that, I can't imagine that.
Right, in this scenario, if they came up short.
If they came up short. So they're not trading Shea.
Right.
So I'm just trying to see how they could make the salaries work. I guess they could, because Hartenstein makes $28 million. I'm just trying to put it together on the fly. If you traded them Hartenstein and Chet to go, and let me find one more guy that you would have, if you traded him Hartenstein, Chet, and Isaiah Joe, that makes the salaries work. And then they have, the picks OKC has is in 2026, Houston's and the Clippers. In 2027, their own and Dallas. In 2028, Denver's pick, and then they have their own picks the rest of the way. So they don't have great picks. We thought that Clippers pick would be unbelievable. Do they have swaps? I thought they had swaps with the Clippers. And let me look that up real quick. Future draft picks, Clippers. So let me see. So outgoing draft picks for the, I should have done the Thunder, but so I don't think that maybe those picks went elsewhere. Sorry, this is not good podcasting. But I just incoming picks. So they can swap with the Clippers in 2027. They can swap with Dallas in 2028. And I think that's where the Paul George trade and all that stuff ends. But Chet would be a real piece. Obviously, Hartenstein's a real piece. So, yeah, I don't think the Thunder are going to make that move. Maybe I'm wrong. I think Houston or San Antonio are the more likely outcomes there. All right. We're going to do this. I guess we're going to try to do some Shador Thursday because we don't have time for it here. Because I do want to
Saquon.
I want to have some fun, and I also want to talk about the Saquon thing. So let's just skip ahead to the Saquon thing because this is very simple, and I don't know why people. I do know why people are being disingenuous about this, but it's annoying. So So if people don't know, obviously the Eagles were at the White House yesterday. Sidebar that for a moment. Prior to that, Saquon was chilling with the president and golfing with him. He then tweeted the following, okay? And we can, LOL, some people are really upset because I played golf and flew to the White House with the, all caps, president. Maybe I just respect the office. Not a hard concept to understand. Just golfed with Obama not too long ago and look forward to finishing my round with Trump. Now you get out my mentions with all this politics and have an amazing day. Laughing emoji. Okay, I'm going to give Saquon the benefit of the doubt that he's smarter than that. And this is, if you have the intellectual capacity to listen to this in a nonpartisan manner, I think you will agree with what I'm saying. The reason I said I thought he was smarter than that is very simple. Choosing to spend time with the world's most famous politician and then being like, why y'all talking politics here, is stupid. It's dumb behavior. And if you were photographed hanging out with Bobby Flay and then we're like, hey, why people dropping recipes in my mentions? Like, hey, man, this is what it is. So, like, the whole, where's this coming from? Guy in the banana costume, who did this? Buddy, you're golfing with the world's most famous politician. So there's that piece of it, okay? It's not an unfair ask or an unfair assumption, whatever it is. Now, here is the slightly more complicated, but not actually complicated piece of this. I do think that athletes get put in tricky spots when it comes to, we've won the championship, we've been invited to the White House. Because they are then, without opting into it, being forced to make what will for many people be a political choice. Just, again, Obama, Trump, president, I obviously do not view them the same, But I understand the way I feel about one and feel about the other. Some people listening feel the exact same way, but in the 180 degrees. So just stick with me here for a moment, guys. When it comes to my team's been invited to the White House, and I disagree with everything the president represents. You're put in a weird spot because if you show up, some people will use that against you. And if you don't show up, as Jalen Hurts is learning right now, some people will use that against you. And you didn't ask to go. You're like, I just practiced hard and got great at a sport. My team won a championship. And now I'm being forced to make a decision either way. I empathize with guys in that spot. Truly. Okay? And everyone's got to make their own decision, but I feel badly when folks who truly want nothing to, and I'll back up even further. I get folks that are saying, no, you have an obligation in this moment to stand up for what you believe in. Folks that think there's a crisis, all of it. I get all that, and we can have those discussions at a different time. It's not what I'm trying to do right now. What I'm trying to do right now is make a very specific point. And the specific point, the only way to make it is if we just treat all presidencies equal. And I understand that is not how people feel about any presidency. Okay? I feel particularly this one, but I know a lot of you guys watching felt like the 8 years under Obama were damn tyranny. So, again, agree to disagree on that stuff. Stick with me on an intellectual level. The White House visit stuff puts guys in a tough spot they didn't opt into. This was not that. Choosing, opting into, in your personal time, striking up a personal relationship with the sitting president of the United States is a political decision. Flatly. And when you opt into that arena, folks are going to assume that you either share some values or whatever they think is the most objectionable thing about that politician that you don't have the same issue with that they do, which is objectively likely true. The folks that thought Obama was the Antichrist cannot believe Saquon Barkley would golf with him. Saquon Barkley, I assume, knew that, chose to do it anyway. And the folks that believe the current president is a dictator in waiting, or wants to be, and thinks that anything other than hardcore disavowal is a endorsement, those folks certainly would not golf with him. Saquon is saying that's not how I feel. Obviously, as of this moment, we still have free speech in this country, freedom of political expression. He's allowed to think or feel whatever he wants. What you can't do is then play the woe is me, why is everyone acting like this is a big deal? Got to be smarter than that. And Saquon's a smart guy. And so I was disappointed at the, where's this coming from? Why are you guys being ridiculous? Tweet when it was totally fair, in my opinion, for folks to see anyone that you are not part of your job, not being made to do, not part of team building, that you are opting to spend 5 hours of your personal time with hobnobbing on the golf course, that folks might then think you are endorsing that person to a degree, which obviously you are allowed to do. To act shocked by that reaction, it's either naive, disingenuous, or dumb. And I don't know which one you want to be. Now to what people come here for. 100 men versus 1 gorilla. Damonza,
Finally.
snap judgment, because I don't think this is a hard question.
I think it's 100 men easily. But that's what I've been telling. That's my take on it. I think 50 probably do
Damonza,
it.
easily.
Yeah.
It's 100 men. Here's the thing. Now, I thought Van Lathan had the funniest content on this, and I didn't even consume the content. I just saw the tweet. But I'm going to... Van Lathan had a whiteboard. Have you seen this, Damonza?
I've not seen it.
So I'm texting it to you right now. I'm going to text it to our group chat. I don't know if we can put it up there or not. I should have told the producers before. But he's holding a whiteboard. Shout out Van Lathan, who I don't know, but does good stuff. So there it is. He's holding a whiteboard.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this.
It says 100 versus gorilla. And then parenthetical, wild. Average size, 6 feet, 400 pounds, brolic. All underlined. It then has a picture of the gorilla. And it would appear he has circled its weak spots.
Yeah.
Head, skull, brain, throat, neck, chest, heart, lungs, knees, and it looks like it's got his fingers. So, he has broken this down into 5 waves. Wave 1, meat sacks. Parenthetical, Vince Wilforks, 300 pounders. Parenthetical, bloody mess. Wave 2, runners. Parenthetical, Noah Lyles's. Sidebar, disorient him. Wave 3, light brutes for arm kicking. Wave 4, heavy brutes for sapping the energy. As parenthetical, Aaron Donald. Wave 5, finishers, vital striking, throat, neck, parenthetical, John Jones. Then at the bottom, in a box, some will die.
And
so
all they
here's
need
the
is a
deal.
coach.
Here's the deal.
After that lineup.
And Van nailed it. And this is why this conversation is so ridiculous. If it is understood, guys, the first, and he had a real strategy. I don't even think you need a real strategy. That would be the best way to go about it. But if you have 100 adult men and everyone understands, it's like the old World War I movies where deserters will be shot. You can only go in one direction. And the guys at the front understand, I'm probably dying. This thing is not that difficult. Just the overwhelming numbers of it make it so clear to where if truly no one abandoned ship on this, this can be done in relative quick order because of the overall weight and mass. The reason it's such a unique and fun topic is, while 100 humans is obviously the right answer from any simulation standpoint, or any standpoint where you get the fake theoretical world that no one abandoned ship, in reality,
no, I saw some funny
100
stuff.
humans versus 1 gorilla would end shortly like this. The first couple guys get an arm ripped off. 3 of your first wave faints. Another couple wet themselves or defecate on themselves. A few start trying to actually team up with the gorilla, where you're like pushing him into him. And then you have mutiny, mayhem, disorientation. And what you end up with is like 6 or 7 dead guys, some injuries, and guys faking their death, and people scattered running everywhere. That's how it really goes. But if you're asking if you can guarantee everyone is locked in on the goal, you can take the gorilla out quickly. And honestly, if you attack simultaneously, minimal death. The problem is, who's going to be the guy that's like, all right, short straw here. I guess not only am I dying, but I'm dying at the hands of a gorilla. And so that's I don't think this is a debate. I know I'm right. And that's how it would go. So, as the kids say, find you a podcast that can do both. Some very smart, non-political, political commentary, and then the only true breakdown using real-world factors of one gorilla versus 100 men.
The producers didn't think you were going to like this one.
I wouldn't think I would like it either. However, I found it so... It was a fun thought exercise. I also loved when Dragonfly Jones and LeJethro Jenkins, great pod, used to be on the Volume, when they did their Beast bracket. Did you ever see that?
No, I never saw the Beast bracket.
So let me try to pull it up real quick.
100 men versus a grizzly bear, though.
It's just
slightly more complicated.
Slightly more complicated because I don't know where the vulnerabilities are, and because the grizzly bear has a lot more one-shot kills.
Yeah.
So, like, the gorilla doesn't have a lot of, like... I mean, he obviously can probably knock your head literally off.
It's just brute strength, and they don't really use their teeth. Bears are using all of it.
But the polar bear is got such a wingspan.
Yeah.
Again, if the polar bear knew what was up, that's the other piece of this. If the polar bear knows I got 100 guys coming at me eventually, and like he's trained for this, he can almost just do like a spinning fist with his claws, and no one can ever touch him. That could be 1,000 men. It wouldn't matter because he's so big and can just one-shot kill you with the claws.
Gorilla's 360 as well, too. I didn't know if they're actually more equipped to do a 360.
Yes, but they don't. But again, the 360 ends usually with like a brutal punch to the head,
knocking you the heck out.
Not all disembowelment. And so, okay, Paul just texted in. The Beast bracket the idea behind the Beast bracket was all of these things, Damonza, have, it's the same weight. So, 1 bison versus 10 kangaroos. 2 tigers against 5 humans. That's 2 tigers. You know, like the final 4 got you down to, there was 50 Tasmanian devils against 25 bobcats, 4 lions against 50 foxes, and they seeded them accordingly. 3 silverback gorillas against 200 roosters. Like, these are the things. But I think the final 4 for this ended up being 2 tigers against 1 polar bear. Who you got?
2 tigers against a polar bear. I'll go with the polar bear.
Me too. Other side of the bracket, 8 jaguars against 4 lions. Ooh, well, hold on. Sweet 16 matchup. 4 lions against 10 wolves. I don't know. Wolves
4
aren't
lions.
as big. Yeah, but I think 8 jaguars. I'm not sure. All right, I think this was the toughest one. 2 grizzlies against 3 silverbacks.
I'm taking the Grizzlies. The coats on the Grizzlies are just impenetrable, and
wow.
It's
all right. By
really
the way, shout out Dragonfly Jones, Jethro Jenkins. Great job. That's content from them a year ago. I was super into that. I really enjoyed that.
It's a nice bracket.
Beast bracket thing.
Did you do a mock for it?
Yeah, no, it was great. By the way, the NBA 82 game grind is done. Now the real fun begins. NBA playoffs are here. It's time for all the high-stakes drama, clutch moments, and jaw-dropping plays. Can't wait. If you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA. From the play-in games all the way through to the finals, now's the time to back your favorite players and teams as they chase glory. All season long, DraftKings has been the go-to spot for NBA player props, and that doesn't stop now. Want to make your playoff experience even more intense? Try placing a bet on your favorite player's performance. Will they drop 30, 40, more? It's your call. Ready to place your first bet? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Lock in your bets. Make this playoff run unforgettable. Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code Wright. That's code Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T, for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Remember, everybody, like, rate, subscribe, review, and we might, hold on. What are the games tonight? The big game tonight is Clippers-Nuggets. So I don't think we're going to do an emergency pod tomorrow. We could, but I think the Knicks take care of the Pistons. I think the Pacers take care of the Bucks. I think the Celtics take care of the Magic. And Clippers-Nuggets should be a great game, but it's a game 5, so we're going to have more time for that on Thursday. And then Wednesday night, by the way, your sister's 20th birthday, Damonza, 20.
Yeah.
Warriors, Rockets, and Timberwolves, Lakers, which should be great. Appreciate everybody listening. Great job, Damonza. Great new setup. Great job, Blue Duck Volume, everybody. I will see you guys, on with Colin Cowherd in about an hour. What's right?